Earlier this week, two guys were convicted of stealing a toilet. Albeit it was a golden toilet, but early hours of September 14th, 2019, a group of thieves executed a meticulously planned burglary at Blenheim Palace, Oxfordshire. Hey, that's the birthplace of Winston Churchill. Did they plan the heist? Absolutely. Was it the perfect heist? Probably not. We're going to talk about that today. Got it.
Okay, this is
Oh, Bill, so you sent me this you sent me this crazy story about some guys stealing a golden toilet, and I was more intrigued and laughed more the more I read. So fill us in. What's the details?
it's the story of the luxurious Lou, as it were.
The luxurious Lou.
All I can picture, Jamie, is these guys sitting around in a pub somewhere, drinking some Guinness, and they say, "Hey, did you hear about the toilet over at the place? It's solid gold. We should steal it." And the other guy says, "Okay, let's get a plan together." And they got a plan together. And then they executed on that plan. Now think about it. They executed on a plan of stealing a 215-pound solid gold, 18 karat gold toilet. They did it.
Okay.
They did it inside of 5 minutes. They stole a Golf, a Volkswagen Golf, excellent choice for theft, and an Isuzu truck.
Hey, at
And
least they're very unassuming vehicles, so
and they
don't call attention to
they
yourself.
busted down the gate. They just it was a smash and grab. They just smashed the window, went in with sledgehammers and a crowbar, and they just pried this thing because it was a functioning toilet, albeit a gold one, and they just stole it. They were in and out in 5 minutes. Genius! This thing was worth over $6 million, and I use genius in a very loose sense because just this past week they were convicted. They were caught and they went to court, and this past week they were convicted of several different things. So you may be wondering, how did these genius master thieves get caught?
I am.
Oh, okay.
How did they get caught? So, well, before we go there, so they obviously did some level of planning for the heist itself, and I agree with you that it was probably, hey, did you see the toilet? And the more they talked about it, the more it made sense to them that they should steal it. So they at least planned it, and they at least the heist itself went well. It was like you said, smash and grab. And then they actually even got away for a while.
Yeah.
But they didn't get away with it long term. So how did they end up getting caught?
They got caught because they don't watch enough TV, Jamie. They don't watch CSI. Just 2 episodes of CSI, and they would have gotten away with this without any problem at all. The first thing was they had forensic evidence. DNA was found on a sledgehammer that they left at the scene. Toilet gone, sledgehammer left. And the DNA was also in the stolen Isuzu truck. Can anybody say gloves? That's all I'm saying. You know, maybe a hairnet. I don't know. And then they had gold fragments matching the toilet's composition. I didn't know that they could match the composition of gold, but apparently they can. News to me. But they found gold pieces on his clothing at his residence. Not big giveaway there. They had.
Do you think about washing them or burning them?
Right. Yeah. Their cell phone. Okay. One of the guy's cell phone had pictures of the palace, pictures of the toilet, and also in their search history was news articles about the theft shortly after it occurred. So they're checking up to see if they got away with it, I guess. And then there's the communication records. They sent text messages between each other, but they were really, really smart, Jamie. They used code for the word gold. They talked about selling cars, not gold, but selling cars. That was their genius ruse. Excuse me, to keep up with these things. Now, there's got to be something to learn here, other than the fact that the toilet was an art piece made by an Italian artist, and he titled it America. which I don't want to go into at this point. But that was the title. That's the name of the toilet. The toilet had a name, and the name was America. So
Well,
what can we learn from this, Jamie? There's got to be something in here that's going to be
oh, so
bad.
there's so much here, right? I mean, I think for one, I think before we go down this path, I think we are both on the exact same page that if that we are not condoning um, theft and art heists and toilet stealing and smash and grabs. I mean, I think we're safe to say that no, just don't do that. However, I think there are some really intriguing elements to this entire story that I think we actually can learn from. And I think the first one is um, they had a goal, right? They said, regardless of how it came about, and then, like you said, it was probably um, dreamt up in some pub after about 4 or 5 Guinnesses deep, and they start talking about the golden toilet, and they're, all of a sudden it started to make sense to them. But here's the thing about dreams and goals is that they've got to be big. Because if we don't set those goals big enough, we don't get excited about them. And if we don't have the excitement, then we never take action. So they have to be big. Now, I'll give them credit here. That's a pretty big goal, right? Let's go steal a $6 million golden toilet that weighs 250 pounds in a palace. That's a pretty big goal. So I at least give them some credit there. So I think that's kind of I don't know. I think that's one lesson to take away. What you got?
Well, a big plan without real planning is just a big problem waiting to happen. And they proved that. They had a big plan. They had a big plan. They executed on the plan, and then things really began to fall apart for them. They just
Yeah,
plan boldly, great, but just planning boldly isn't enough. You have to plan more completely. And that's where they
I
kind
like
of, you know, they did, like I said, 2 episodes of CSI and they'd have gotten away with this.
that. Well, I think planning is there's kind of like a scale, or I don't know if scale's the right word, but kind of like degrees of planning, right? I think that on one end, if you don't plan enough, you're probably going to fail from the start. But I think if we can also kind of get bogged down into what they call, paralysis by analysis. We can sometimes get so caught up in the planning process that we lose sight of the big dream, or we never take action. So I think you got to find that happy medium. But I think that's true. I think got to have the big dream, think big. That gets you the excitement. But then we need to plan, and like what you said is, make sure that we plan completely.
Right, right.
Um,
So here's something else to
to make
take
sure
away from
that
it.
not just on how to carry out the heist and how to get away, which they accomplished, but it's also how to get away with it, which that part they didn't do so well.
Now, you may have great plans for a business, an idea, a side gig, great big new plan for a new vacation, or whatever the case may be. You may have a really big plan, but you got to uh, think it the whole way through, because good ideas fail when they don't have repeatable, reliable systems behind them.
Mm,
Okay, now think about it. They had this great idea, but they didn't think through the idea of the different systems that are involved in what's going to catch them. Like, what about the DNA? What about this? What about that? Uh, when if I were to tell you, Jamie, that you were going to have a vacation, and I'm going to pay for it completely free, plus $10,000 in spending money on this great big 3 week long cruise, but here's the trick: you and your wife have to leave in 24 hours to do it.
done.
Done. But here's the thing: you have to plan for taking care of your dogs, you have to plan for taking care of your house, you have to plan for taking care of this and taking care of that. And here's the thing: you already have some concepts and some ideas in order on how to do that. The dogs are going to go to my parents, the neighbors are going to watch the house, yada yada yada. A simple email or something online will hold your mail for 2 or 3 weeks. You'll find whatever it takes to go on this 3 week vacation. And what you're going to find yourself doing is falling back onto some systems that you already have in place, some good habit
Yeah,
systems. So how
that's
you're going
good.
to do that. So even down to
What?
your time management routines and how you're going to get to the airport and so on and so forth like that. So having systems in place is going to really help you pull off your heist. Oh no, pull off your Your big dream. That's it.
Plan, your big dream, your plan.
Yeah.
Well, that's so important. It's interesting because I think that actually kind of ties into kind of the next thing I've been thinking of, and that is, I said before, the dream's got to be big in order for there to be enough excitement for you to actually do something, right? And then that's where, okay, you plan and then you put the systems in place, but eventually that excitement will wear off.
True.
So, it might be adrenaline filled at the beginning. I'm excited about it. I'm launching, I'm doing the cruise thing, I'm going on vacation, I'm doing the project, I'm starting the new business, whatever it is. I'm excited. But then you get bogged down into what it actually means every day. And when that excitement wears off, if we don't have those systems in place that we can fall back on to make sure that we can keep doing the right things every day, then we'll stop again, right? We'll fail. So I think all those kind of tie together. So the dream big, plan even bigger around that plan. Let the excitement drive the action, but make sure that you've also built in those systems when that excitement wears off, that now you can fall back on kind of your habits to get you through towards that level of success.
And
So
here's
I
here's a
like it. So
yeah, here's a final thing. A final thing. Think longer term than the first 5 minutes. Remember, these guys did a little bit of planning. They were in and out in 5 minutes, but the next 3 months were not planned very well. So when you're starting with a big plan and a big idea and you want to get it going, by all means, get it going. Get it going, fail, keep it going, fail, keep it going. Because the more you fail, the better you're going to be at it in the long run. Now, these guys, they failed once and they're going to jail. So it doesn't really apply to the whole theft thing. But, think longer term than just the first 5 minutes. Don't just plan for the launch. Plan for the next 90 days, plan for the next year, plan for the next 5 years. Because if you're going to be successful on the outset, that's great. That's fantastic. But you want to keep it going.
I like it. I like it. So we successfully took something somewhat odd, like stealing a golden toilet, and we found a lesson in it, Bill. So I'm excited about that, and I'm hoping that as our listeners, they're excited too. And if you learn something or you like something about this topic of this episode, make sure you let us know. Make a comment, like us, share us, pass it along to other people. Just let us know what you think. So think
Well,
about, what is your golden toilet? What are you going to go looking for today that you can start planning for, and then you can start putting in systems for, and then that way for the long-term success and when the excitement of the golden toilet is worn off, you've got things in place to keep going.
you want to keep your loo working well. That's all I got to say. I'm Bill McConnell,
So,
and that is Jamie French.